The video you are about to watch contains no footage. It is a black screen, designed to be listened to like a radio drama or an audiobook. The story of the world's most famous hacker is complex enough without distractions. Sit back, close your eyes, and let the story unfold. Imagine a criminal so dangerous that the United States government believed he could start a nuclear war just by whistling into a telephone. It sounds like science fiction. It sounds like the plot of a bad Hollywood movie. But in the mid-1990s, this was the argument presented to a federal judge. The man in question wasn't a terrorist. He wasn't a spy. He didn't have a stockpile of weapons. He was a geek from Van Nuys, California, armed with nothing but a laptop and a gift for gab. His name was Kevin Mitnick. To the FBI, he was the Condor, the most wanted computer criminal in American history. To the media, he was a digital menace. But to the underground, he was a legend. A pioneer who exposed the fragility of the information age before most of us even had an email address. This is the story of how a young boy's love for magic tricks turned him into a fugitive, a prisoner in solitary confinement, and finally, the world's most respected security consultant. Kevin Mitnick's life of crime didn't begin with a keyboard. It began with a punch card. Born in 1963, Kevin grew up in a broken home in Los Angeles. He was a lonely kid, bored and brilliant, looking for a way to feel powerful in a world where he felt invisible. His first love wasn't technology, it was magic. He loved the idea that you could trick someone right in front of their face and they'd thank you for it. At 12 years old, Kevin discovered his first hack. It wasn't digital, it was social. He noticed the LA bus system used paper transfer slips. If you had the right paper punch, you could mark your own transfers and ride for free all over the city. But he needed the punch. So, did he steal it? No. He simply walked up to a bus driver and asked. He told the driver he was working on a school project about the transportation system. The driver, thinking he was just a cute, nerdy kid, told him exactly where to buy the specific punch the drivers used. Kevin bought the punch. He fished unused transfer slips out of the trash at the terminal. And just like that, he had free transportation for life. This was the birth of what Kevin later called social engineering. He realized that the weakest link in any security system wasn't the hardware or the lock. It was the human being running it. People want to be helpful. People want to trust you. Kevin learned to weaponize that trust. As a teenager, his playground expanded from buses to the telephone network. He fell in with a community of phone freaks. These were proto-hackers who explored the massive, silent machine that was the Bell telephone system. Kevin was a natural. He wasn't just dialing numbers. He was dissecting the infrastructure. By age 17, he wasn't just making free long-distance calls. He was redirecting home phone lines of people he didn't like to payphones. He was changing the directory assistance database. He could make a phone ring in a way that the person answering thought they were the one calling him. But eventually, the phone lines led him to computers. In 1979, at just 16, a friend gave him the number for the ARC, the computer system used by Digital Equipment Corporation, or DEC, to develop their operating systems. Kevin didn't hack the code to get in. He called the system manager. He posed as a lead developer who had been locked out of his account. The manager created a new login for him on the spot. Kevin was in. He poked around the corporate network of a multi-billion-dollar company from his bedroom. But this was the hack that would eventually come back to haunt him. Fast forward to the late 80s. Kevin is in and out of trouble. He's convicted for the deck hack, serves a year in prison, and gets out on supervised release. The court is terrified of him. The conditions of his release are strict. No hacking, no association with other hackers. But for Kevin, hacking wasn't a crime. It was an addiction. It was a puzzle he couldn't leave unsolved. In 1992, the FBI began investigating him again for hacking into Pacific Bell voicemail computers. Kevin knew they were closing in. He saw the writing on the wall. Another prison sentence, likely longer this time. So, he did what any rational person would do. Wait, no. He did what Kevin would do. He ran. For 2.5 years, Kevin Mitnick was a ghost. He lived under false names. Eric Weiss, the real name of Harry Houdini. Brian Merrill, a dozen others. He moved from city to city. Denver, Seattle, Raleigh. He stayed in cheap apartments, paying cash. But he couldn't stop hacking. In fact, being on the run made him hack more. He needed to know if the FBI was close. He hacked the DMV to get fake IDs. He hacked the phone companies to track the agents who were tracking him. He figured out how to clone cell phones, so his location couldn't be triangulated. When the FBI set up a sting to trap him, Kevin was often listening to their calls, laughing as they sat in a van, waiting for a man who wasn't there. He wasn't stealing money. That's the most important thing to understand about Kevin Mitnick. He had access to credit card numbers, corporate trade secrets worth millions, and software source code from companies like Motorola, Nokia, and Sun Microsystems. He could have been a millionaire. He never took a dime. He took the code. He copied it, studied it, stored it, and looked at it like a trophy. It was about the thrill. It was about proving he was smarter than the system. But in 1994, Kevin made a mistake. He got arrogant. He decided to target a man named Tsutomu Shimomura. Shimomura was a computational physicist and a security expert based in San Diego. He was brilliant, and unlike the corporate IT guys Kevin was used to pranking, Shimomura took things personally. On Christmas Day 1994, while Shimomura was away skiing, Kevin hacked into his personal computer. He stole Shimomura's own security tools and emails. Kevin then left a series of taunting voicemails for Shimomura. He was poking the bear. Shimomura didn't laugh. He went to the FBI and said, "I will help you catch him." The hunt was on. Shimomura helped the FBI track Kevin's data connection. They traced the signal across the country to a cell tower in Raleigh, North Carolina. But Kevin was using a cloned cell phone connected to a modem. The signal was bouncing everywhere. Shimomura actually walked the streets of Raleigh with a frequency direction-finding antenna, looking for the specific radio waves emitting from Kevin's apartment. It was February the 15th, 1995. Kevin was in his apartment, unaware that the net had finally closed. He was online, probably looking for the next target. At 1:30 a.m., there was a knock at the door. Kevin opened it to find a dozen FBI agents with guns drawn. He didn't run. He didn't fight. He just looked at them. When he was brought in for questioning and finally saw Tsutomu Shimomura in person, Kevin didn't scream or curse. He looked at the man who caught him and said, "Hello, Tsutomu. I respect your skills." The game was over, but the nightmare was just beginning. The prosecution wanted to make an example of him. They painted Kevin as a cyber terrorist. This is where the legend of the nuclear whistle comes in. During a bail hearing, the prosecutor told the judge that Kevin Mitnick was so dangerous that if he were allowed access to a telephone, he could dial into the NORAD modem, whistle a specific frequency, and launch nuclear missiles. It was complete nonsense. That is not how NORAD works. That is not how phones work. But the judge didn't know that. The judge was terrified. Kevin was denied bail. He was placed in solitary confinement. For 8 months, he was kept in a small cell, 23 hours a day. He was not allowed to use a telephone. He wasn't even allowed to review the digital evidence against him, because the court was afraid his mere presence near a computer would cause it to explode or delete the internet. While Kevin sat in the hole, a movement began on the outside. The hacker community was outraged. They saw the government's treatment of Kevin as a witch hunt. The Free Kevin campaign was born. Hackers defaced websites like Yahoo and major news outlets, replacing front pages with demands for his release. People slapped Free Kevin bumper stickers on their cars. He became a martyr for the digital age, a symbol of the government's ignorance about technology. Eventually, Kevin struck a plea deal. He was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison, plus 22 months for violating his probation. On January 21st, 2000, Kevin Mitnick was released, but he wasn't truly free. His probation terms were draconic. He was banned from using any communications technology other than a landline telephone for 3 years. No internet, no email, no cell phone for the world's most famous hacker. It was like being an artist banned from using paint. But Kevin was patient. He waited. And when his probation ended, he didn't go back to the dark side. He realized there was a new way to use his skills. Corporations that once feared him now wanted to hire him. They realized that the best way to secure their networks was to hire the guy who knew how to break into them. Kevin founded Mitnick Security Consulting. He became a white hat hacker. Companies paid him tens of thousands of dollars to break into their systems and then tell them how he did it so they could fix the holes. He wrote books. The Art of Deception became a Bible for cybersecurity professionals. He didn't teach people how to write viruses. He taught them about the human element. He taught them that you can have the best firewall in the world, but if your receptionist gives away the password because someone asked nicely, you are vulnerable. He had a sense of humor about it too. His business card was a jagged piece of metal that actually functioned as a lock-picking set. He became a celebrity, a keynote speaker, and the chief hacking officer for KnowBe4, a company dedicated to training employees against social engineering. He had gone from the FBI's most wanted list to working with the FBI to catch actual cybercriminals. In July 2023, Kevin Mitnick passed away after a battle with pancreatic cancer. He was 59 years old. The news rippled through the cybersecurity world. Kevin Mitnick's life was a mirror for our relationship with technology. Kevin Mitnick's life was a mirror for our relationship with technology. He was never the villain the government painted him to be. He was a prankster. He was an explorer. He was the ghost in the wires. And he proved that even if you start out on the wrong side of the law, it's never too late to hack your own destiny.